Welcome back. You are watching the Chase, Zimbabwe's premier current affairs program. Please do note that all views expressed on the Chase are those of our guests and do not reflect the views on Zimbabwe's 1980 or those of ZT and Prime. Now let's cut straight to the chase. Mayor, let's ascertain something before we go any further. How many people reside in the Mbare flats? How many people were meant to live in the Mbare flats? And how did we let it get to the point that more people are residing in those flats? Because presumably that is what's happening.
Well, the history of the Mbare flats is that most of them were bachelor accommodations. They were supposed to house the migrant workers as they were then. That is the bachelors, and they were supposed to then graduate to proper housing should they marry. So if you got married, you then go to the district office and then be given a stand or allocated a place where you could build, or a house that was complete where you could stay. So they were first designed for bachelor accommodation. Fast forward now, the number is up in the air. I would say in excess of 30,000 or anything within the range of, looking at the statistics in terms of the elections, anything around 25, 30,000 thereabouts, people staying there, being adults, and the children could be even far much more because there are a lot of children being born in that place, and families are now staying in the rooms. So it has created, and this has been created by, of course, the shortage of housing, the lengthening of the housing list. The flats themselves have not been extended. In other jurisdictions, what they've done is they've gone higher with the improvement of lift technology. Instead of having 3 floors, other cities are now having maybe 10 floors, 15 floors. And that could have accommodated a greater number of people and modified the flats to be there. So we have that crisis in the sense that we are having something that was not designed for families now being occupied by families. And that has created a situation where there's crowding, where there's pressure on the sanitary provisions. As you know, the rooms themselves do not have individual ablution facilities. They have common facilities, and it was meant to be a strictly coordinated housing arrangement where there will be people maintaining hygiene standards, cleaning the place, providing electricity, and subsidizing the cost of labor to the various employers that were relying on this labor, which would then leave once one got married, or people used to retire to the rural areas. Now people no longer retire to the rural areas. They are now insisting on growing old in the towns and growing old and probably dying where they have lived in town. So that's the reason why there's overcrowding and why we find ourselves in the situation we are in Bari.
So now, as it is and as it currently stands, there is no proper roadmap or network or plan in order to, make sure that the flats are less congested, is there?
No. The roadworks and the plans are there. The implementation is probably where the ointment in the oil is. As you heard the minister speaking when we were at there, the government, central government, through its development plan and the city council, we've got a plan to modernize Mbare, to make the flats taller, to provide more facilities for the people, to also take those who would not be accommodated there as families to other areas where they can live. And as we try to create a better industrial zone with the markets in Mbare, renew Mbare, what we call urban renewal, we are hoping that we will then be able to have that place modernized and become a modern part of the city together with the Mkuisi, it's in the Mkuisi catchment area. If we restore the Mkuisi catchment area, we'll get more land and more space to accommodate more industries and more housing. The plans are there. What is lacking is a sound funding model to bring that into fruition.
Now, Ruben, you seemed to scoff when the mayor gave his response. Do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, thank you so much. What I would like to say, I agree with the mayor, the first line to say, those flats were meant for, for bachelors, but also the responsibility to clean the flats. It was also the responsibility of the local authority, in particular the city of Harare. So when you look at the arrangements or the bylaw, which then governs how those flats are then occupied, and it is the duty of the local authority to ensure that windows are replaced, doors are replaced, and even at some point in time, because at some point in time I also lived in Bari, for your information, and if you would have also attempted to repair the door, the Mbare office, that one near Matapi, they would come to you, and even you will be fined for doing that, because that would be what? Not your responsibility. So it was mainly the responsibility of the local authority to ensure that cleanliness, it happens. But also on the other end, we will not also exonerate the role of the residents to ensure that after the municipal workers clean those flats, they also maintain the cleanliness. Furthermore to that, if you go to Mbare Matapi near clinic, the flat there was burnt down. I think it's about 10 years ago now, or 7 years. But it's still the same, and the people there, they are living in a beer hall near the place. I think it was known as Zororo Bar. That's where the people are living. And you would actually see that the plans which continues to say that we have plans, they have not, the plans have been, even before the mayor became the mayor, there have been plans to ensure that probably rehabilitation or ensuring that the flats are then in good condition. Unfortunately, in our view, there is no will, to then ensure that people in Mbare, live in habitable conditions. Because when you look at the sanitary facilities, truly speaking, if you look at the sewer reticulation, it doesn't cost much, but you go there, probably just needs a lid to just close, because the flat is their toe. Just a lid just to close, raw sewage is just gushing from third floor down. That does not require even 20 bucks. Okay, let me also go further. If you go to Mbare, what is known as Mbare flats, so they are not, all of them, they are not called Mbare flats. We've got Nyere, Matapi, Tererini, that yeah. And then when you look at that, the Mbare flats in Mbare, near National, there is grass which is growing even in the gutters. That probably will need even a grass cutter to then start to. So to us, it has been probably an issue of failing to maintain what has been provided for. Because look, this is just a roof, just to remove the grass from the roof, So the local authority, I think they've been sleeping on duty, because also they need to be responsive and ensure that that place is habitable. We were happy when we saw tents, being pitched in Mbare, I think last week, and we thought probably the local authority now was coming up with a mechanism to ensure that people then live in habitable conditions. Remember, there's also a court order for government and local authority to ensure that that place is habitable. There is a court order to that effect. Unfortunately, we then saw speakers of coming, speakers, those radio speakers, because people thought we received a phone call that because of the court order, we were told that there were going to be tents that were going to be erected whilst the flats are going to be renovated, because that's what is contained in the court order. And later of the Mbare from Tereni flats, the residents they said, oh, there is a function, So those are some of the things which we feel that at some point in time there is a need to ensure that our spending, the local authority expenditure, also it's not much. It has to be done progressively. It might not be much. It may be 1,000. I tell you, $1,000 can change the just probably even, let's say, a floor in material flats. So to us, it's just a neglect of those flats.
Now, Nathan, I would want to come to you to ask you what your take is about the state of the flats in Bari. But both allegations have been made against you, Mayor. The local authorities sleeping on the job. Simple tasks such as replacing a window, replacing a door they seem to be quite difficult for you to do. What is your response to that?
Well, I think we need to change the local governance structure of of these flats. I can't imagine in this day and age there's someone who thinks that when they use the toilet, there's someone who's going to come and clean after them. I can't imagine that there's someone who thinks that when they've not swept a corridor, there's some worker who is going to come and sweep the corridor for them. I think all the other places that we have in the city have got tenants associations that are organized enough to be able to then create duty rosters, even where you are lodging at a house, Murima Roja, like lodging, you have what they call duties of cleaning the common facilities. You know, people are now staying in one room. Everyone knows that I have a duty to clean the toilet this week. I have a duty to clean the common area. So I think what we need to do is to disabuse this notion that that you use your toilet and someone is going to come and clean it for you. What we are going to do in compliance with the court order, we are going to encourage the inhabitants of these flats to create associations where they agree on common standards of hygiene, and we're going to make it mandatory, rather not to encourage. We're going to make it mandatory that everybody who has a list there joins an association. Within that association, they agree to common standards of human behavior. How to use the toilet, how to clean the toilets, how to have hygiene in their rooms, what happens if somebody creates deviant behavior, and that we then work together. If it means that there are certain levies, like we do with our primary schools and other common facilities, we have allowed what we call SDAs to have levies on top of what they pay to the council, to have a particular levy which will be used to deal with minor issues that cannot be dealt. You know, our rents are suppressed and sometimes are not payable at a faster rate. But if we can develop a system where we have levies, it's very common. They do it in the markets. They pay a common fee for everyone for the cleaning and for the cleaning and everything. Then we will then create a sense of responsibility within the residents themselves. Yes, we have to do the hard way. We will bring the tents, we'll comply with the court order, and we'll work with government to invest in terms of maybe maintaining the infrastructure whilst we come up with the long-term plans. But I certainly would want to assist the Residents Association and the residents of Mbari that in this day and age, if you mess something, you clean it up.
Yeah, sure.
We are not going to employ a battalion of workers to clean after adults. That's not going to happen.
Okay, so far we have had this back and forth between you, Mayor, and Ruben. I'll now want my other guests to now weigh in on the situation, because this is essentially the bedrock of our discussion here today. These are some of the issues that have been mentioned that have led to this outbreak of the bed bugs that are in Bari. I had asked earlier, what is your take on the situation, or what the flats look like in Bari at the current moment?
Okay, thank you very much for that question, and I am happy that the mayor has talked about the historical reasons concerning the floods, and he also added some sentiments on behalf of the tenants, which is good. But first and foremost, I want to say that there is a political will. Yeah, I know he said there is no political will. There is political will at the highest level. Because when you look at Mbari Redevelopment Program, it's a program which was approved by Cabinet, which is the highest decision-making body in this country. And all the issues the mayor was talking about coming up with measures that will also make Mkwisi an attractive area. I think if you look at the 3D of that Mbare redevelopment program, you see some ducks, the flamingos in the Mkwisi River. And those are ideas that are flying out. And I'm sure when you look at operation hygiene, not bed bugs as you are saying it, we are only, the name we have coined for the operation is Operation Hygiene. We didn't only want to focus on bed bugs, but the general hygiene which the mayor and Mr. Akimo has talked about. So when you look at hygiene, it also starts with the way we manage the floods. How many people can a flat accommodate? Is it 5? Because from a health perspective, he is here. He will tell you that in this room we can accommodate 2 or 3 people. But when you then think of 30,000 or more being accommodated in those 56 blocks of flats, then it becomes an issue of concern, because we are the way we are managing those flats for now by doing the spraying and everything is mitigation.
So the spraying is the spraying of the bed bugs,
Yeah,
correct
of the
me?
bed bugs. That's
Which
mitigation.
which is the hygiene part, because you said you are not only focusing on the
let me
fleas.
come. The spraying is also part of the hygiene part, because when the honorable minister gave his statement, he said, for now we are mitigating against the bed bugs. We want to get rid of them, isn't it? But in the medium to long term plan, because there is an investor already found by central government and together with the seat of Harare, I'm sure this is where the intervention will come, because it's more sustainable than doing the spraying. You can spray that area of Mbare 30 times, but that will not get rid of some of these bed bugs, because it's not sustainable. So I'm sure whatever measures the mayor was talking about, we want to see them coming to their fruition, and make sure that the Mbare people do not have anything that threatens the well-being of their staying in Mbare. If you look at the Tagarika floods, and compare with what we have in Mbare, they are all in Mbare. But if you look at the life of those people staying in Tagarika flats, it's better than in some of those flats we are also talking about. So if we are to work on the densification of the flats in that Mbare, about 8 or 10 floors, I'm sure the city of Harare will also need to work on the pressure for water, because there is no way you can go up using a bucket. You have to work on the pressure of the water and other things. And I'm sure under the Mbare redevelopment program, those are the issues which are there.
Now, Victor, we have been talking a lot about how Mbari is overcrowded and whatnot. And like I said, these are some of the issues that they have said have led to the infestation of bedbugs. What is your assessment of the current situation in Mbari in regards to the bedbugs? How bad is it and how detrimental is it to people's health?
Thank you very much. Yeah, the situation is dire, let me say that. When it was recognized or identified that there is an outbreak of bedbugs, the people had no knowledge. And remember, these people have been using chemicals to kill the bedbugs. But because of lack of knowledge, it wasn't done methodically. And probably let's look at why. You know, our flats are overcrowded. And there is a lot of traveling and a lot of selling that happens in Mbare. And if you look at the predisposing factors, mostly it's overcrowding. And yes, Sidingomo talked of overcrowding. And you know that what we say our minimum standards are that a person, not couples, should occupy at least 4 square meters. If 2 people that are not a couple occupy 4 square meters, then the room is overcrowded. Yeah, because unless you are a couple, so you need 4 square meters in your only room if you are not married. And for Mbare, I think you know what it means. There is gross overcrowding, and there is cluttering. Properties overcrowded, and even space to spray. It's very, very difficult. So when we heard about the outbreak, then we took a census of how many flats are affected. And then we tried to mobilize resources with Harare City. And we also included other stakeholders. That include the civil protection. We mobilized the chemicals, and that's when the spraying was done. But you realize that the life of a bedbug, let me tell you its behavior. That when the eggs hatch, there is a nymph. These are the small bedbugs, and those ones can survive for up to 2 months without eating. And you know, they only survive on human blood, so they can survive for 2 months. Then the bedbugs, full grown, they can survive for 6 months without feeding. And during the winter, they get into a dormant state where they can survive for 1 year without having a human blood. So you see that they are these are very, very resilient creatures that we are talking about.
It seems like it is used to you.
Yes, they are resilient. So you see that even the spraying alone should have 3 stages. Because when you spray, you kill the adult, their eggs that will hatch later. And you know, after 7 days, you have to spray again. Then another 7 days, then you make sure you've exterminated or removed all the bed bugs. So what is happening in Mbare is that our first round, only 67% of rooms were sprayed. And what does it mean? If you look at it, we haven't done anything. Right, how do bed bugs spread? They cling. They are not spread by wind or a fly. They cling onto property or even onto humans, on clothes. They hide behind furniture. They hide in electrical fittings. They also hide in cracks and the crevices that are in homes. So most of them, if you look at Mbare, the flats, they've got cracks. They are old. I think we all agree that they are old. They have seen their time, and they should be extensively repaired. If they are not repaired, they still harbor a lot of bed bugs. And the spraying that we are talking about, it means all the furniture, everything should be removed from the rooms. Then the spraying should be done. We should also remove all the fittings that are done. Some people have put some planks to hang on their posters. Some have put on some lots of things on the walls. We want them removed. And then if there are any cracks, we should make sure they are filled in. Then after that, the spraying should be done. But there is one very, very special thing: the heat treatment. Bed bugs will die at temperatures above 60 degrees Celsius. So you need heat treatment. It kills all the bed bugs, including the eggs. And then we should also make sure that for mattresses and sofas, there should be some canvas bags that are put so that they don't hide. That should cover the mattresses. And let's also ensure that these are cleaned. And when they are cleaned, they should be cleaned with chemicals that will kill the bed bugs. So the treatment that we are giving should be integrated with other methods. And we want only, what can I say, experienced and certified sprayers or fumigators to work in that area. Because some of the chemicals that are used, then you will ensure that the bed bugs get some resistance. This is the worst thing that we want. So what does it mean when we say 67%? That means we are firefighting. I think we need to sit down together and ensure that when it is done, it's done thoroughly.
Now, 67, firefighting. Ruben, there have been reports by residents. Some have jokingly said that the spraying only made them stronger and more vicious than they were prior to, Harare City Council or the local government moving in to say we want to spray the bed bugs away. Have you heard anything from the residents in regards to what it looks like at the current moment? We understand it's 67% fumigation that was done. But for those whose fumigation was done, have they said anything? Have they responded to what it looks like now? Is it still as bad as it was prior to this?
Yeah, thank you so much. So from the reports we are getting, because we've got also structures with people who live, especially in Mbare and Matereni floods, the other component, the other floods, according to the residents, they say they've not yet visited their floods for the fumigation. But however, in areas where work has been done, some have also been reporting positively to the spraying, but also which I think the local authority has then push. I think all of us, they issued a moratorium. Now we're in the days of moratoriums. The issues say that those who will not allow health workers to enter into the house. I think that was the biggest challenge, where probably some would have gone to work and they spray in the next room and the other room is sprayed, and then again, that these bed bugs, they move fast. If you look at those bed bugs, they move fast. Even with just in a tingle of an eye, you can they've got supersonic speed. They can move fast, especially when there is light. So the movement, you could actually see that by not spraying the other rooms, which would not be probably opened for the health officials, you would actually see that the job would have been half done. So, like from what our health expert is saying, that it's firefighting, and at the end of the day, what is then required is to ensure that it's nearly 99.9% complete. Otherwise, we are just firefighting, because when we spray in this room, the bugs move to the other room, and at the end of the day, and even the cracks which he's talking about. When you look at the buildings themselves, they've got cracks. Even in maternity flats, we have been there. There are some cracks which I think they also need to be filled, so that at the end of the day, they are hiding places for the bugs. Are then closed. But also we've encouraged the residents, to tell you the truth. We also encourage the residents to say, this is your responsibility. You cannot relegate this responsibility, especially of hygiene, to a local authority or to Mr. Nkomo and others. So I think what is then required is more of like a shift from the past. I think the mayor tried to highlight that, from the past, and then probably look at the future. But I think some of the things which then kind of like I would say stand in the way is also because the local authority have got also its regulations. So again, in that reformation period, I think the local authority they've also tried to then amend if there are bylaws or the guidelines around the flats also, because at some point in time the local authority have made two I would say progressive resolutions. There's a resolution to that effect of rehabilitating the flats, but also even to say surrendering those flats to the sitting tenants, and that then gives responsibility, but they need to be surrendered in a good shape.
Nathan, you don't seem to agree.
I totally agree with that proposal, but it's very difficult to implement. And you would find that the 67% which Mr. Nyamande has given us, it was before the 30th of April 2025.
So it has increased.
It has increased because they managed to give us additional equipment, and they also gave us about 5,000 were they sachets? Bottles of acrylic 300C. So as we speak, the city of Harare managed to recruit about almost 120 volunteers, but there is now a volunteer fatigue. So what we did was In that instance, we had some national command center. You know, the national command center which we established during COVID-19, we reactivated that command center. And there are about 25 students from the Zimbabwe National Defense University and other universities. And we have about 60 whom we have seconded to the city to do the spraying. So I'm sure right now we are above 90%. And I'm happy that when you was talking about the routine spraying, it's not only once. The city of Harare did it once, first round, and on the second round is when we joined them. So there are about 4 rounds that we are going to carry out. And for the 4 weeks, I'm sure after the 30th of April, you will see some changes in Mbari.
I mean, we are now in May. This is
The
like the 30th of May. All right.
30th of May.
All right. So now, Mayor, there have been reports that the city came in way too late after reports had been made and people had complained. What do you say to these allegations?
Well, it's never early, and there's never a right time to solve some of these problems. What's important is for us to start. We probably would leave some of these analysis to academics and other people who are trained or are employed to do that sort of work. But what is key for us as a council is that we went in and we are in. And what is also very important is government has come in a big way to support the efforts of the city council. And we want to avoid this recurring again, and we want to be able to come up with medium-term and permanent solution to this problem. And bed bugs have been there since time immemorial. It's not something that crops up today or yesterday, and they are there in most cities in the world. They have bed bugs in certain areas. So it's not something that suddenly comes. It's something that creeps on you, that thrives in certain conditions, which conditions you have to deal with or to stop. So we are encouraged by the response right now from the key stakeholders, the private sector, from government, and from our people. And we have authorized our people to break down the doors should anyone not be present. We are empowered to do so in terms of the health regulations, because this is a danger to society and everybody else. And we will go to the ultimate step for those that are intransigent enough. We will cancel the leases that they have and repossess the flats that they have. And we are not going to do unconditional sales or unconditional release of these properties. They must assure us that they will form a viable owners association or tenants association, which will behave responsibly towards those flats. Otherwise,
You actually did mention that they do have an association, did you not?
Yeah, people are organized. I think maybe probably from what the mayor is saying, is them to officialize. I know from a flat which they've now have a prepaid electricity meter because the electricity were cut down and on allegation that the local authority was not paying to ZESA. And then the residents, they organize themselves. Now they pay directly to ZESA. So people there, they can be able to organize. I tell you, people in Mbari, I know there's a notion that people think that people want free service. It's people, they just want services. And it's very, very important. Because from the electricity side, I tell you, how would they organize themselves to go to Wayne Street, ZESA, and ensure that they engage, and now electricity is within the flats. So people can be able to organize. But I think what is very, very important is then the formal engagement with the local authority and formalization of these processes.
Now, they have allegations that the chemicals that are being used to spray those bed bugs, like you did say, there are certain specifications and certain things that need to be done, chemicals that need to be mixed up in order for the bed bugs to die. Did the city of Harare or the local government provide the necessary chemicals for that to be done?
Yes, Faith. Exactly. Let me stress here that when we started, we used a chemical to which the bed bugs had built some resistance. Then we quickly changed to acrylic 300 SC, and things have improved. We have got other options, a lot of options. But what we are saying is that as we do this, we should say if there is any other problem, we should then change the chemicals so that they don't build resistance. If you look at bug stop that was used, it's in the shops. You can buy it through the counter, over the counter. And I know that people have been trying to kill the bed bugs in their own rooms. And we are also saying let's integrate our methods, the heat treatment, even ironing of clothes.
Yes, ironing.
You see, it's very, very important. Or putting clothes in sunshine, drying them in sunshine. Those are other methods that should be used. And even cleaning our rooms. So we need to integrate those methods of prevention so that we kill the bed bug. But it's quite important. I think you hear that the effort that the mayor and this city are putting is, and then the civil protection. I think the biggest challenge is on the residents. They should comply. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we'll spend a lot of money. Remember, we are not talking of the sales that are going on and the bells that they are selling in Mbare. And those are some of the pull factors. These are the ones that carry the eggs, the ones that carry the bed bugs. If they keep selling those, we are not doing anything.
So what should people do now? Because remember, these are some of the million jobs that people have created for themselves in order to survive.
We need to inspect everything.
What we are going to do is we are going to put storage warehouses, which storage warehouses need to be fumigated as well.
Yeah.
Because as we speak, people are storing these in their own houses or in the flats. And then people come and sell from there and they charge. So then some of the flats have been turned into storage facilities or local rooms. And that's where the problem comes into. What we need to do is to build modern infrastructure and encourage people to then use the modern infrastructure that we build in Mbare. So this has to happen. And we will ensure that it happens.
Now, gentlemen, in the time that we've sat here, you have all agreed on the points that you have raised, which means that if you agree that local authority is doing their job, if you agree that local government is doing their job and residents are doing their part, where exactly is the problem then? Where does the problem really lie, and why are we not addressing it? Because like you said, bed bugs are not a new thing. It's not a new phenomenon. But then for it to be recurring in the same place over and over again means there are some fundamentals that are not being addressed. What exactly then is the problem that we are not addressing? What's the elephant in the room that needs to be really addressed and changed?
Faith, I think we're all caught unaware. No one was prepared for this.
No one was prepared for the bed bugs.
Yes, we were not prepared for this. But let me tell you that prehistorically, there were lots of bed bugs in London, which are documented in Paris, lots of bed bugs even in Greece and in Egypt. And they don't choose, and they are not based on poverty. But remember I said they are carried by travelers and on luggage, everything. And if they find a place where they can have access to human blood, even in hotels, splash hotels, 5-star hotels, they've got, some of them have reported bed bugs. What is needed there is vigilance. We have to also to adopt some inspection tactics so that we say all the flats, City of Harare, should then ensure health workers have to inspect. And if it means changing or modernizing our laws so that every year they should have a certificate for occupation where the flats do not have lice, do not have cockroaches. We don't need all those things, or even rodents. I think we have to relook, and then these inspections should ensure that if a lease is going to be renewed, one has to produce that. And I think the issue of overcrowding, we still have to revisit, because one flat has 10 tenants, another 20. I think we need to standardize all that so that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Now, Mayor, I'm asking the question of what really is the problem? What are we not really addressing?
Well, I mean, we have honed down, and I'll try to elaborate. The first issue is that we have to renew the infrastructure. So we cannot run away from the renewal of the infrastructure in Bari. We cannot sustain an argument that that infrastructure is adequate. It is wholly inadequate, crowded, dilapidated, and purely maintained. So that's the biggest problem that we have. And that's the responsibility of the local authority and perhaps the central government. And the sooner we put our heads together to do that, the better for everybody else. Before we do that, there are certain, every city has got old houses. Some cities have even places that have existed since the time of Jesus, and 1,000 years and 400 years. So we cannot cry that we have old infrastructure. We then have to maintain whatever infrastructure we have in a state that it is habitable and usable. And we should be able to then, what he's talking about, to have rules and regulations that are effectively monitored. What we need to do is to make sure that we are local government. And local government means going right. If there is a school, you have a structure that governs the school. If there is a flat, you have a structure that governs those flats and their rights and responsibilities. And there is a belief that we will need to disabuse very quickly, sometimes in the Zimbabwean side, that I can leave a piece of paper and someone will come and pick it up. That I can leave my liquid waste, solid waste somewhere and someone will come and deal with it. There is no such person. In all other countries, you leave your paper, they fine you heavily. You mess up something, they deal with you immediately. And that is where we need to go to change the mindset shift of our people, that there is a superhero somewhere who is going to come, clean after you, what you destroy, they will put back together. It does not happen anywhere in the world. And it's surprising. Zimbabweans are the best workers when they leave this country. They are the best drivers when they leave this country. They are the cleanest people when they leave this country. They come back to Harare. Immediately they are throwing paper out of the window. They are doing things in the toilets. They expect someone to come and clean. They are drinking and urinating at shopping centers with children and women passing. They have gone back to the rowdy behavior, which they don't do when they cross the border. You find Zimbabweans in UK, Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, in South Africa. They are exemplary visitors and exemplary citizens. They come back into Zimbabwe. Something switches on. Recklessness suddenly comes, and somebody expects somebody to work after them. So we are going to work on the mindset shift. If it means we are going to introduce fines for littering, introduce fines for dirtiness, we find your place dirty, we deal with it. We find your yard dirty, we deal with it.
Mayor, I've sat across you a couple of times now, and you've spoken about finding someone for littering and finding. Is it something that you keep talking about, or is it something that you really want to implement?
It is something that we want to implement.
How long does implementation take?
No, it's going to be immediate. Sometimes when we start implementing, you cry the loudest. When we start being tough, people cry the loudest. So sometimes we give a leeway, but I'm happy that we and central government are now moving in tandem in terms of the need to enforce hygienic laws, in terms of the need to enforce a culture of cleanliness. We have a National Day of Cleaning that has become ubiquitous in our society. That National Day of Cleaning must be followed by a strict regime of laws that comes and identify if your place is dirty, something must happen. If you are a dirty behavior, washing your car must not look like your problems, as they say in modern days. We should not allow our city to look like our problems. We must maintain it. We must be proud of our city, and we must be proud of our country.
Actually, the question was, we seem to agree on a lot, or you seem to agree on a lot of the issues that have been raised here on how best to deal with certain situations. How then do we find ourselves in this rut where we say we have bed bugs that really cannot be controlled, so to speak?
Thank you so much. Especially when we talk of Mbare, I think what is very, very important, when I started this conversation, I think Mr. Nkomo came in and said there is will, but I still go back to say there is no will to address the issues in Mbare. Why I say so? In anything we want to do, we need to have what we call a fiscal commitment. We need a budget to be able to address some of these things. So again, when you look at the issue of Mbare, over time, you continuously hear to say, the issue of renewal, I started hearing it about 15 years ago. So he's still talking about it today. And we could have expected that 15 years ago, at this moment, one of the flats, if one guy in Mbare can paint that flat, you know, why can't we just do that? Those are simple things. I'm not talking of, you know, big things here. I'm talking just simple paint, which will not even cost for one flat, which will not even cost $2,000, you know. And we have got workers at City of Harare who can also who are painters. They employ painters big time, and there are many there. So what I'm trying to say is, we need to just go to the basics. That's what I can tell you. The basic service provision, like what you said it. Mbare, third floor, there's no water. So again, when you are using communal bathrooms, communal toilets in the absence of water, so we need a city. Let's go back now to the fundamentals. We need a city that can be able to provide water to the residents 24/7. Those are some of the basics which we need. But again, when you look at these things, they are just merely plans. You know, where people they're just slogans where people just announce that we're going to have urban renewal. You know, and where is the plan? Where is the fiscal commitment? You know, towards financing that. That's what we've been lamenting towards, you know, on these issues. So coming up with the plans that are concrete but they're supported by finance is very, very important. But also, again, let me go back.
But they need to help us with the attitude change.
Yeah, you are right.
Because if they continue demanding from the state, it is important to demand from the state. People pay their rates, but you must, as a residents association, be in a position to assist us in terms of the clarion call, to use the cliche, to be able to change attitude. I can give you an example of Bulawayo. The citizens there, they are not rich. Or richer than the residents of Harare. But certainly, you go to the neighborhoods, you can see the visible efforts of personal cleanliness at a homestead. And not only does it spread from the homestead, personal cleanliness for the street and the community.
But then, Mayor, you're also forgetting that in Bulawayo, they are also ensuring that they collect refuse on time every single day. Are you doing that in Harare?
Yeah, we are collecting.
Where exactly? Because every single time they are
some of the areas are collected.
Some.
Yes, they
Why
are
not
collected heavily. But let's not find.
Why are we not collecting all residential areas? Why are we selecting
We have come
some
up
and not
with
all?
the programs to collect right now with the Chenesa Harare. The dump sites are being cleared. The daily collection has improved. A number of areas in the high densities have had their dumps
How many dump sites in the high density areas?
there are many, but we have cleared some historic dump sites.
I mean, I think what is very, very important is that even when you talk of cleanup campaigns, you know, people can clean because we want to deal with behavior change. I'll tell you that even with the first organization to start to do cleanup campaigns with in partnership with Lafarge Cement, where even in 2008, where there were 2 trucks, refuse trucks, at City of Harare. But what we have seen, what I'm trying to put across, why I say basics is, those things, if we clean today, we need then to sustain the changes. But again, when we remove waste from let's say, from a corner of a street, and then the local authority come next 3 months again back into to collect waste, then you actually see that we are not sustaining the changes. That's what I'm saying is we just need to just do the basics here. It's not about blaming them, but we're saying that's a responsibility, and that responsibility has to be done. On the other hand, we are not saying that we just demand service. No. And we don't want free services. I will continue to repeat this. We don't want free services. But the residents, they also want what they call value for money. And again, there are some other fundamentals, which I think yesterday the Ministry of Local Government came with minimum standards to say now, minimum zvidiki zvamungakwanisa kuita ndozvakutora kuti vangakwanisa kuita here zvidiki and zvidiki zvati kutaura nezvazvo, the small and simple things which I'm talking about is just provision of water, collecting of waste, and then even Kumampare flats. Let me tell you, Faith, long back there were housing inspectors. So it's a system failure. So there were housing inspectors who would come in those houses, and then the inspector say, you know what, and even in high density suburbs, we had housing inspectors who would come every probably monthly and then get able to highlight, you guys, this is illegal or this is not allowed, and probably you are penalized for doing ABCD. No, but now we no longer have.
No, I'm sorry, I have to jump in now because we have quickly run out of time. We have about a minute left. You're going to help me watch my clock at this point because I want everyone to say something because I see all your faces. You all have something to weigh in and say. But help me watch my clock. We have a minute left.
Thank you very much. Let me start with the flat which was gutted by fire. I'm sure when you were talking about ownership, that's where you see an example of how difficult it is to look for the tenant for the flat. Because imagine all the 30,000, if they were paying rentals to City of Harare, it was going to be a very rich local authority. It's only one person who pays the rent. It's not everyone who is accommodated in those areas. There are space barons in those accommodation issues. So again, that's an area that we also need to look at. And when you think of the other issues like the bed bugs and everything, you cannot even say, I agree with the mayor that you cannot think of Mbare as having a place where people are staying in right now, because every minute there is something happening in that area. So I'm sure let's pursue the issue of the political will of having the Mbare redevelopment program done, because there are two things. If the state has got funds, it will do the direct intervention, like what we did on the Tagarika floods. And if it is not there, let's look for partnerships and make sure those partnerships are also implemented in good time and without fleecing the beneficiaries. I think that's what the president said when we opened the Mbare market. So I'm sure all those issues are issues that we need to also look at.
Issues that really do need to be addressed. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, gentlemen, but thank you so much for joining me on The Chase here today. We were discussing the situation in Bade, the bed bug menace, and what has been done so far to help contain and maintain it. I was joined in studio by Jacob Mafume, Mayor of the City of Harare. Also had Nathan Komo, Chief Director, Civil Protection Department, Ministry of Local Government, Victor Nyamandi, Director, Environmental Health Services, Ministry of Health and Childcare, and Ruben Akili, Director, Combined Harare Residents Association. I have been your host, Faith Nyawade. Good evening and pleasant viewing.
Or when rather did you start to realize that worship is my home?
I was sleeping, right? And
Right.
I was dreaming people singing in a church, Our Father who art in heaven. And my wife took my phone and recorded me.
Look, I'm going somewhere with my question.
Yes.
Are you the one